So just because you've had a few viral videos or you even have a following and you've done a few brand deals doesn't necessarily mean that you need a manager. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about everything that you need to ask if you're actually gonna get a manager, but we're gonna start with, do you even need a manager? Because some people seem to be confused about like, what is the job of a manager? What's the job of an agent? Like what actually is even going on here? So let's get straight into the video. Before we even start, the timestamps for this video are gonna be in the description. So make sure you check it out to get to the part that you wanna see. So first, let's talk about, do you even need a manager? So for most people, the answer is no, being totally honest. So the job of a manager is to handle all of the brand deals that you have coming in. So they're negotiating contracts, they are reviewing the briefs, they are making sure that you're even aligned with the partnership that the brand wants to do, they are sending the invoices to the brand, they're making sure that the brand is actually paying you and you're getting paid on time. That is the job of a manager. People often think that managers are going to bring in a ton of deals for you, but the truth is that you only need a manager if you cannot maintain the deals that you already have. So what does that even mean? So if you have a few brand deals here and there, you don't need a manager. You don't. Regardless of how big of a following you have, you don't really need a manager unless you are at a point where you have so many brand deals coming in, you have so many brand deals that you're already working on, you can't even keep up with your inbox, you can't even find time to post content, you don't even have any creative space or mental space to be able to do your job, which is creating content. So if you find yourself not being able to keep up with your inbox, not being able to manage your comments, not being able to even engage with your community, then you need a personal assistant. Okay, you can hire somebody on Upwork, you can pay them an hourly rate, you can have them clean out your inbox, you can have them, respond to your comments, you can have them do all of those things, but you don't necessarily need a manager because you're not having back to back brand deals. Now, if you are someone who's working on multiple brand deals at a time, you find out that you're even missing some opportunities or missing brand deals because you just can't seem to keep it organized. You're just like all over the place and you have no idea where to even focus and all you want to do is just get paid for the brand deals. Then yes, you do need a manager, but having the right manager will make or break your career as an influencer because they are in charge of your money. Most influencers make the majority of their money through brand deals. So typically with a manager or an agency that you sign to, you have an exclusive contract with them for typically 2 years, but sometimes they'll do a year, sometimes they'll do a year and a half. But that contract or that exclusive contract means that you cannot work with any other manager, you cannot work with any other agencies. You have to work with them for the next 2 years for those brand partnerships. And again, brand partnerships are the majority of your income for most people. So finding a manager is not something you just do on a whim. You don't just like, oh, wake up and get a manager today, and then all of a sudden you have a manager. It takes a lot of attention to find a manager that is right for you because everybody does not function the same in this industry. So in the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about what you even need to look for, what you need to ask, and how you even go about finding a manager if that is something that you really do need and you find yourself not even being able to manage the current brand deals that you already have. So what managers typically even look for when they are looking to bring on talent is a few things. And first, I'm going to talk about what is the difference between a manager and an agent, because some people get those things confused, but they are two different jobs. So an influencer manager is someone that is going to negotiate the brand partnerships for you. So they are going to be taking a cut of the brand deals that they negotiate for you, anywhere from 10 to 30%, depending on who you even sign with. Managers will try to motivate you to work with brand partnerships because that is how they're making money off of you. They don't make money from your affiliate partnerships. They don't make money from any of your passion projects. They aren't going to make money if you're writing a book or if you're, volunteering with some company or with your, they don't make money. They make money from brand partnerships. Now, unless you have a 6-figure contract with a publishing company for a book and that your manager negotiated that contract for you, they're not gonna make money off of that book. Unless you have a 6-7-figure contract with a podcast network that they negotiated for you, they don't have any motivation for them to even get that deal for you. Now, typically managers will be involved in those deals and they will be taking their cut. And the goal of a manager should be to keep those partnerships consistent and to keep them coming in like clockwork, because again, they are getting paid for you being able to work on these brand partnerships. So if you aren't making money, they aren't making money. So they're gonna try to keep you involved with brands. And that can be through a multitude of ways. The going to brand events, working with brands, meeting different brands in emails, or meeting with the different teams via email, going to meetings either virtually or in person. They're really gonna get you involved with those brands to build relationships with them and be able to work with them long term. Because just like it's better for you to have a long-term deal where you know where your money's coming in from every single month, it is also better for them to have a long-term deal because they also know where their money's coming in from every single month. Now, the difference between an agent and a manager is that an agent will handle anything that requires you to really audition. So things like acting, modeling, commercial shoots, that is what an agent will handle. Now, some managers actually do feel comfortable negotiating those partnerships. They may have experience in that realm already, so they are okay with negotiating those things for you. However, if they aren't, they typically will refer you to someone who is an agent that does know the ins and outs of that part of the industry, and they will just give it off to that agent, and the agent will handle the negotiating of whatever commercial shoot, modeling, acting, or whatever you're doing. Sometimes the manager will charge you a referral fee, which is basically, I'm getting my cut for telling you who to go to, and that person is actually going to negotiate the contract for you. Sometimes they don't have a referral fee. It really depends on what your agency is, what your manager has experience in, what they are negotiating for you. It depends on a lot of different factors, but at the end of the day, everybody is getting their cut. So it is important that you know these people. If you're looking for a manager and you're like, okay, what should I even be looking for? Like, how do I know this person's the right fit for me? For one thing, you need to decide what you even want to get out of influencing, right? You may just be working on brand partnerships right now, but you have to decide, do I want to take this and make this a long-term career? Am I just doing this to have money right now to pay off my car? And what is the goal with you and influencing? Do you eventually want to have a book deal? Do you eventually want to be on TV? Certain managers are going to be better for different influencers based on the end goal. So if you're someone who just wants to work on brand partnerships, you really don't have to be too picky. You don't have to go for the best manager or the best agency in the industry because you just need brand partnerships. If you are someone who wants like a longer term goal, you're like, oh, I want to be on TV, I want to do this. You need to be set up with the right people that can help you get to where you want to go. So when I started interviewing and having meetings with potential agencies and potential managers, I asked quite a bit of questions because, again, my livelihood is based on how well they work and how well we really work together. So if you are a creator of color, first and foremost, you need to look for someone who's actually going to advocate for you. And the reason why I say that is because when you are working with brands, they just want to make money off of you. That's the goal. Your brand mission may align with theirs. You may love the brand, you may love the products, but at the end of the day, they're making money off of you, you're making money off of them, right? So it should be a partnership that makes sense. But if your manager isn't actually advocating for you behind the scenes, like when it comes to the contracts and when it comes to you, showing up for different events, you being involved in different projects, if they are advocating for you, you are going to get the short end of the stick. But what questions should they be asking to advocate for you? Examples would be if you got invited to a brand trip, right? If you are a Black creator and you get invited to a brand trip, that's fantastic. And a lot of times it's a really big opportunity for Black creators. However, your manager should be asking invite list. What other influencers are invited to the trip? Because you should not be the only Black creator on that list. And if you are, your manager should be speaking up and being like, we noticed that there isn't much diversity on this trip. What is your team doing to expand on the diversity? And are there other influencers that you may be considering inviting on this trip? And keep it cutesy, they can keep it demure, but they should be asking why there aren't any other Black influencers on this trip. If you are going to a set, or if you're going to a campaign that requires you to do some type of shoot, and you are a Black creator, your manager should be asking, is there someone on staff that can do textured hair? Is there someone that on staff that can do makeup for dark skinned girlies, or color girlies, or girlies with sensitive skin? Like, they need to be asking these questions for you and advocating for you, meaning that you need to work with someone that you trust. Because if this person isn't asking and you show up to the shoot and there's no one to do your hair and makeup, you are going to be stuck doing your hair and makeup. Okay, and at the end of the day, whatever comes of that campaign, whether it be photos or videos or your face is on a billboard, it is your face, it is your brand, you are your brand. It is not your manager's face. Your audience is going to see that and be like, damn, why she looks so ashy? Damn, who did her makeup? This looks a mess. who approved this? This is crazy. You are gonna get the heat for that, and your manager is not, okay? Because no one sees your manager, they see you. So if you run into an issue with that with your manager, you need to ask them, hey, did you advocate for this person? Or before it even happens, or how are you willing to advocate for me knowing that I am a Black creator? And if it's already happened, you just say, you know, did you ask the brand, or did you make sure that that brand had a makeup artist that could do makeup for my skin tone? Or did you ask the brand, you know, if they had a hairstylist that could do textured hair? And if your manager is actually advocating for you in that way, they will be more than happy to show you the email thread. Be like, yeah, I actually did ask. You know, I don't know why it fell through on the other end, but like I did ask. If there's someone that's not advocating for you, they will find every excuse in the book to say why they aren't advocating for you. So things like, oh, you know, well, you know, you're the first Black creator to work with this brand, or, you know, this brand doesn't typically work with influencers. Like, we don't really want to step on toes. We don't really want to, you know, push the envelope on this. That's where you're gonna let them go. Because again, it's your face that is on billboards, on the websites, on the videos. It's not theirs. And at the end of the day, they are getting paid off of you doing these deals. If they are not advocating for you, they don't need to be working with you. And if that does happen where they're, you know, oh, we really don't want to push anyone's buttons. Okay, great. It's been nice working with you. Have a great career. I will happily get a lawyer to get me out of this contract with you, because you clearly don't want to advocate for me, and instead you just want to make money off of me. There's a very clear difference between managers that are advocating for their influencers and for their clients and for the talent versus managers that just want to make a quick buck. So these are the types of questions they should be asking on your behalf, and making sure that things are already set up when you arrive. You should not have to worry about who's doing your hair and makeup. That's not your job. Your job is to be a part of the content, to be the talent within that content. So that's the first thing that you should really be looking for when a manager or an agency says they want to work with you. So one of the other things you should definitely ask are, who are the influencers that are already on their roster? If they have reputable talent on their roster, they will be more than happy to tell you who is on their roster. Who else do they work with? They may not tell you the ins and outs of details of, you know, what brand campaigns those influencers are working on, but they will tell you like, oh, you know, we work with this person, or, you know, I have this people on my roster, or, you know, these are their niches. These are the brands we have worked on with in the past. You know, these are examples of how we handle different issues with such influencers. If they say, oh, you know, we can't share who we work with, that's a red flag. Because if they tell you who they work with, and then you go to that influencer's page, and one, they don't even work with them, or two, you ask them, you know, what it's like work with them, the influencer will tell you very straightforward, yeah, no, homegirl hasn't gotten me a brand deal in 8 months. So if they aren't even telling you who they work with, you definitely should not be working with them. But if they're, you know, saying like things that just don't align with what you have spoken with influencers about, because again, this does require you to do your own research and go and ask influencers, you know, what is it like working with this agency? If they are trying to be hush hush about it, it's probably not a great sign. On the other hand, you also need to be asking, what are the brands that they work with already, that they already have relationships with, that you could easily become a part of, or they could easily pitch you to that brand. So if an agency or a manager says, you know, we have a relationship with American Express, with Walmart, with Target, right? You need to ask them, how would you pitch me to American Express, you know, for a campaign? Or how would you at Target know that I'm a part of your roster now? Like, what are some ideas that you have that I could work with Target, then have a long-term partnership over the course of our contract? If they have done research on you and your content, and they know who they are talking to, so to you and about the brand, like they have experience working with that brand, they will have ideas of how they can pitch to you. If they don't share the brands they work with, that's also a red flag. If they don't have any ideas of how they can pitch you to the brands, or what campaigns they previously worked on where you would be a great fit with those brands, that's also a red flag. They just want to check. You need to know what brands they already have relationships with, because the purpose of a manager is to not only make your life easier when it comes to brand partnerships, but also make sure that you are working with brands that actually align with your content that already exists on your page, where you don't even have to change niches, you don't have to do anything different, that you can just seamlessly become a part of their roster and a part of their agency. Also, I would strongly recommend that you go to not only reach out to the influencers to see, you know, what their feedback is on working with that agency, but also really take the time to understand how that specific agency works. A lot of agencies and managers They all have different processes and they all go about things slightly differently. So some agencies will just take you in and then they will assign you a manager afterwards. And then after that point, then you are working one-on-one with that manager. Some agencies will take you in and then you have to apply to the campaigns that they are working with brands on currently. So you're not necessarily working with a manager, you just like are under an agency and you are supposed to apply to those partnerships. Then some managers will reach out to you directly because they want you to be on their roster, but they are under an agency that already has a bunch of partnerships. So they work more like a freelance basis where the manager goes out and finds talent to bring onto their roster, and then from that point then you are a part of the agency. Everyone works slightly differently, so you have to ask, what is the process for me having a manager? Am I assigned to one specific person for the next 2 years? Do I have to apply for anything after I fill out the initial intake form? Like, what exactly is the process for me to have a manager throughout the duration of my contract with you? And if they cannot give you a direct answer, or if it just seems like it's not really a great fit for you, like for me, I would want to work with someone one-to-one. I want to have a personal relationship with a manager, and that's what I have now. So the agencies where you just kind of have to apply to different campaigns every single week doesn't work for me. I want someone who I'm going to grow with and work with over time. So you have to decide what will work for you, and then also, is that agency or is that manager working in that way? There are plenty of agencies and managers for you to work with, so there's no shortage. And I'm not going to recommend specific agencies or managers because it is such a personal decision, and you really should deeply consider who you are working with, because again, it is the basis of your brand partnerships for a fixed period of time. You should know how that agency functions or how the managerial relationship will function if you were to sign with that agency. The other reason why you should ask about what brands that the agency already works with, so that you can know if your content even aligns with that agency. So as an example, if the agency works with a lot of lifestyle creators, right? So you see their roster and they may have really big creators that work on their agency, and those creators, have consistent partnerships month to month, and the creators are also really happy with the partnerships that they have. If those creators are all lifestyle creators and you are let's say a food creator and you only create food content, their relationships with those lifestyle brands may not necessarily be the best fit for you as a food creator, because lifestyle can be anything. It can be beauty, it can be makeup, it can be skincare, it can be home decor, and all those things aren't food. So even if they have a partnership with, let's say, Supergoop, the sunscreen brand, that's not going to fit with your content, and you shouldn't have to change your content to be able to work with that manager or within that agency. So when you ask for what brands are you working with or what influencers are you working with, you want to see what niches are those influencers in, and also what niches are those brands in. And on the flip side, you also make sure that there aren't too many influencers that are already within your niche, because then you would have to stand out on that roster as a partner that the brand would want to work with. So as an example, let's say you're a food creator and the manager that you are interviewing with, they have 5 other food creators that are already on their roster. So yes, they have food creators, and yes, they have brands that they can pitch you to, but they already have 5 other food creators that are already working in these partnerships. So that means that your content has to stand out in some way for the brand to see you as valuable as opposed to the other 5 creators. So you really need to think about, does my content stand out? Are there so many creators in this niche that I probably won't have the best chance of getting a brand deal? Not to say that you won't have any chance, but you want to be on a roster where you are a good fit. So the brands fit in with your content, the roster makes sense, for you to join. It's just a community that already makes sense for you to be a part of. The other thing that I want to mention that you should really consider when you are signing with an agency is, what social platforms are their campaigns the most prevalent on? Because some agencies will work with creators that have huge Instagram followings but don't really have a following on TikTok, right? So if they're working with the same brands over and over again, those brands may just be focused on promoting on Instagram versus TikTok. Now, if you're someone who has a big following on TikTok but a very small following on Instagram, they may not be looking for creators in your size. It could just be so different depending on who you are and who they are and how they already work their brand campaigns. And on the flip side, if you have a really big presence on YouTube, but they don't work with any brands that promote on YouTube, you may not get the highest brand deals from your YouTube profile, but you may get a lot of brand partnerships through your Instagram. So again, it all just depends on if you fit in with that agency and what that agency or that manager already has going on, because some brands are already in the flow and they don't really want to change too much, and they kind of stick to what they know, and you need to be someone that fits into what they are already doing, or you need to fit into the direction that they want to go in. And again, it's all up for grabs. I highly recommend that you reach out to influencers that are working under that manager and under that agency to see what their experience is like, because people will be very honest with you and they will let you know of whether or not this is a great agency to sign to, or if this is something that you should pass on. And when you talk to those influencers, make sure you ask them what percentage of your brand partnerships have actually come from the manager versus from your inbox, right? Because brands are always looking for creators to work with, and a lot of times brands will do outreach that go directly to the influencer, but a part of the manager's job is to not only manage the brand deals that are coming in from the wild, but also partnerships that they are bringing in from their own long-term relationships with brands. So you want to make sure that there is a balance between they are bringing in partnerships for me and I'm also bringing in partnerships from my own content on my own. If they aren't doing that, that's something that you also have to consider. Do you even want to sign with this agency? So these are just some of the things that you need to consider of, am I a good fit? And if so, how would I be a good fit? And you want to ask the manager, how would they see you working on their roster? Because you could think one thing of like, oh, I very obviously fit in this way, but they could be like, no, maybe not, like actually would make more sense in this category. Hopefully this video was helpful for you and can help you determine whether or not you even need a manager in the first place, but also what to look for when you are looking for a manager in the long term. So thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.